Hi everybody, this is Indecision and I'm going to be doing a founding phase walkthrough to explain what I'm looking for each of the colony types. So first things first, I'm going to start with Robotic, and I created a spreadsheet that has been published that you can look at that shows the building costs. So starting with Robotic, the most important resources for Robotic are steel and aluminum, because increasing your colony size requires steel and aluminum. So when founding your colony, the most important thing to do is to look at and acquire the resources that you are going to be using most often. So for Robotic, it is steel and aluminum, and since steel requires iron, since steel is a secondary resource, you are going to want to found near iron. So let me start up a game and do a quick walkthrough of what I'm looking for. So when you start, you want to, if there's any resources, you want to start
Low
scanning in
levels of
that,
water
because
found.
you want to
Low
reveal what the
levels of
resources
aluminum
are.
found.
So
Low
starting
levels of
out, I kind of
silicon
stay
found. Medium
around.
levels of
If I
carbon
find a
found.
large patch
Medium
of
levels
resources,
of
I'm going to
water
explore
found.
around those
Medium levels of
resources.
aluminum found.
Now, the other thing up here, it tells you how much of certain resources have been revealed on the map. So far, there hasn't been any iron. And since I want to be robotic this time, I'm going to keep exploring until I happen to find some
High
iron.
levels of
Okay, so
iron
there's some
found.
iron. Oh, there's a lot of there's a ton of iron down here. So now that I found iron on the map, which is what I want to be founding in, I want to find the closest source of aluminum down here. Now, I should probably note that when I play, I prefer to found later rather than earlier, so I'm going to let the opponent found first so I get the faster black markets access, and I also get to see what colony type they picked, and I also will get an extra claim for founding later bonus. So I'm going to start exploring around the area and hopefully find a
Thermal vent.
source of
That will be useful.
aluminum closer to where I'm at. So since there's very little aluminum on the map and there's only one medium, I'm in danger, a little bit of danger of letting them found and take that
Scientific
aluminum
colony
unless I can
founded.
happen to find more. So now that now that the opponent has founded, there is so much iron on the map, so iron isn't going to be a problem. There is almost no aluminum on the map, so what I would do in this situation is I would end up founding next to the aluminum, since I haven't found very much, and I
Acceptable
will claim
location has
the
been
medium
identified.
aluminum tile,
Run colonization build
and I
script.
will also
Start
claim
manufacturing
the
cube.
aluminum next to it. And normally I would found down somewhere in the iron, but since there is just so much of it, I would take the two aluminum tiles, probably hopefully starve the opponent, or at least make the opponent go a long way to find the aluminum. So, I mean, I might even consider claiming the third aluminum tile just to completely optimize it, and then claim the nearest high iron tile with other irons around it, so potentially later I could get the bonus, get the building next to each other bonus. So basically what I'm looking for when I'm founding Robotic is the proximity of the aluminum to the iron, and then founding next to whichever is in the shortest supply, so I can guarantee that I'm going to get the highest amount of the nearest one. I mean, I'm also going to kind of keep an eye out for silicon and carbon and see what's near, but I don't those only come into effect when the electronics go into play, and then carbon and silicon you can usually just buy those off of the open market. So that's the aluminum or that's the robotic, what I'm looking for with robotic. So the other thing to keep in mind is the proximity of the, whoa, that's cool. That's kind of a bug. Is the proximity of the geothermal. If there's not very many geothermals on the map, I'll probably just claim it because they're a really good power source. So I'm going to move on to the next colony type. I am going to do Scavenger next because Scavenger is also quite straightforward. So going back to the spreadsheet, I'm going to select Scavenger. And then, so as you can see on Scavenger requires aluminum, carbon, and glass to upgrade. So the quantity of glass isn't very high, so I generally put off the producing glass because it's a tertiary resource, it requires oxygen. It actually requires oxygen and silicon to produce, so you have to first get oxygen before you can get glass. You either buy it or sell it. So since we want to worry about growing, it's easier to just worry about the carbon and the aluminum. So going back, I'm going to start another game, and hopefully on this map there will be some carbon that'll be worth worrying about. Okay, so there's no resources, but there is one little aluminum, so I'm just going to start scanning in random directions till I found it.
High levels of
So there's a
lot
lot of aluminum. Now the other thing about
carbon found.
Carbon is carbon generally shows up within craters. So if you can see, there's a lot of craters on the map. Odds are there's going to be a fair bit of carbon. So you also want, when you're doing the scanning, if you want to target large craters. See, there's carbon in the large crater. So there's a spot over here, but so I'm gonna probably end up founding over here or over by the aluminum because there is a carbon over here. So I'm just gonna keep scanning a little bit, wait for the other AI to do something and see what else I may stumble across. So the AI still hasn't found it yet, but I really want to wait because there's 2 potential locations. I'm not too worried about getting shut out of resources, and I haven't found a spot that I'm absolutely thrilled about. So as you can see on this map, there's very little iron, and there's a decent amount of aluminum and carbon. So the AI found it finally. So now I've got 2 options. I can found over here and double up on the little and grab an aluminum and pay shipping, or I can found on the aluminum and grab a medium carbon and pay the shipping on the carbon. Since there's a little bit more carbon over here in a pinch, I can use that, and it's not too far. But either way, since I'm going to be paying shipping, I would probably found in the aluminum patch because I can consume quite a bit of it, get the bonus. I can grab the high aluminum and save on the shipping, which the shipping is probably going to become expensive because you could easily end up doubling up, and that's a lot of shipping. And then I would grab 2 of the nearest, or actually I would wait till the map is fully revealed to see if there's another carbon source that I can grab. And then, so the mid-game, you're going to have to worry about life support, so you are going to need water, but there's a ton of water on the map. So
High levels of iron found.
okay, so there is more iron around, more aluminum. There's a large iron cluster up here, so since there also happen to be a decent spot up here to build on, because you could found right next to the carbon, and then kind of close aluminum clusters. There's also aluminum cluster down here. So being that I'm Scavenger, you're gonna want 2 carbon mines to produce all the carbon you want. I probably wouldn't have ultimately gone Scavenger on this map because it's a little bit light on good carbon patches. I'd really want to get 2 next to each other so you could get the bonus. So that would require founding up here, and up here it's quite a ways from the good aluminum. So I would probably skip on it and found something else in the middle where I don't have to worry about it as much. So moving on, I will do Expansive next. So with the Expansive gets half steel price of everything. All the buildings require half the amount of steel, including upgrading. So steel is important, but not as important. You can sometimes get by just buying the steel off the market, but you still want to produce some steel because you can usually sell the steel for a pretty good profit. Also, you need aluminum and glass. So when I'm playing Expansive, I will found Expansive when there's just an absolutely massive cluster of resources together, multiple overlapping, kind of like this, where you could, no, I wouldn't do that because there's just not enough directly next to it. So let me reveal more terrain. But yeah, so I'm really looking for a really large cluster of resources where I can build just about everything close to the colony. I don't have to, because everything close to the colony, so everything isn't spread out too much. I mean, you want to spread things out a little bit to protect yourself from the black market, but you, at the same time, you don't want everything so spread out that you're paying a ton in shipping costs, because it gets costly, or it can get costly if the fuel price gets driven up.
Robotic colony founded.
You may have noticed that so far I haven't mentioned anything about founding on water.
High levels of water
And the
found.
reason for that is
Medium levels of
water
carbon
has
found.
so
High levels
little
of
value
sulfur found.
at the beginning of the game. It
Medium
makes it
levels of
difficult
aluminum
to progress if you found on water. So I would probably, since most of the map is mostly revealed right now, with the Expansive, I'm really just looking for proximity to the most resources. In the middle, it's okay, but the Robotic founded there, so that's no good anymore. There's a bunch of iron down here with carbon close, silicon close, and water close, and a little bit of aluminum. Not ideal on the aluminum, but since there's such diverse resources on this part of the map, and there aren't really any higher aluminum deposits that are anywhere close to anything that you want to do anything with, I would end up founding down. I would probably found I would found down here where I could get the biggest bonus while being next to the high iron and leaving a medium iron next to it. So I would probably found right here. There's enough decent lone water tiles, so I would probably make sure I get the carbon tile, the silicon tile, get some steel going, and probably save the AI isn't gonna grab the water, so I'd save the water for later. So, and then with the Expansive, you can pretty much adapt. You have enough claims to do whatever you want. So the big thing is you just want to grow as fast as possible. claim as many resources as possible and then go from there. Now, another possible spot that you could have founded would have been up here. Sometimes it's fun to just plop down on silicon and immediately build some solar panels, because power is going to fluctuate, and then you can make money selling power at the beginning, and that's also a possibility, but it's a little bit too far from everything else, so that's why I would pick down here.
The black market
So
is
moving on, I'm going to go through scientific now. I find scientific founding to be I find scientific to be the most interesting to found, because you're looking for a lot of things on the map, but at the same time you're looking for specific things. Now, scientific building locations are very important. So let me start expanding. Ooh, there's a nice cluster down here. You could found a scavenger in here because you can claim all the tiles close. You can do various things with them. You're not going to get too much bonus because you found in between, but you got the carbon and you got the water next to you. Ooh, this is another interesting thing. I'm glad this happened. Depending on what type of game, whether it's a large FFA or whatever, power can be very valuable. Sometimes you might want to just found next to the two geothermals so you can claim them, patent the resource for double power when connected to the colony, and just rack up the power. But you'd also want to be very careful doing that, because one, it takes a while. You have to make sure you claim the two tiles, and power can hit 0 or power can hit 1, and then you just get shut out. It's risky, and
Expansive colony found. High levels of aluminum found.
so it looks like I wish I had explored this a little bit sooner, but I probably would have founded the scientific either in here or over here. But let me explore some more of the map so I can explain why.
Levels of silicon found.
So anyway, with scientific, I typically want to found next to
High levels of silicon found.
See, there's high terrain over here with a lot of silicon on it. You could do the power thing with expansive, because if you found in the right spot over here, you get 200 silicon. You can easily go double solar panel, grab the high silicon, and worry about glass. But again, that's a little bit more difficult to do. It's less reliable, and so okay. So wow, there's a lot of look at all the aluminum on the map. So there's really nothing short on this map. So let me pause it and go through what I like about the map. So on this map, okay, so you've got clusters of iron down here, which is good for scientific. You've got a little bit of water over here, but if there's a bunch of people in the game, you can count on somebody founding here, so you can't really rely on that. It's a little bit short on water clusters, which is scientific likes, because you want to be able to build hydroponics on the water and electrolysis is on the water in clusters, so you get the building bonuses. But sometimes you can't really work on that. So due to this, what I would end up doing on this map is, well, I'm kind of torn, because I would like to found over here, because then you're right next to the aluminum. You're close to, well, no, there's a better aluminum spot down here. Again, you've got there's a ton of geothermal on this map, so the power isn't going to be an issue, so you're not going to really want to do that. I'd really like to be closer to the I'd really like to be closer to the iron patch so I don't have to wait too long to get my steel up and running. So, oh, there's also a nice little iron patch over here, but it's kind of, it's out of the way with everything. So I'd probably just, I would probably found next to one of the high aluminum over here, because it's not ideal because it's so far from the iron over here, but I would rather be paying, well, see, because you can't really found too close to the iron. I mean, you could found up here and grab the iron over here, but then you're still paying shipping for both. Same thing down here, it's not really close, so I'm torn. You could make do with either founding next to the aluminum or just founding up here, claiming the resources, building a early solar panel, and throwing your steel up here. That's probably what I would do. And even though I know I'm kind of asking for trouble, not founding directly next to each other, and then the game crashed. So I guess that's a sign that that I was doing the right thing. So that's the general gist of what I'm looking for with scientific. I'm looking for the proximity. Oh, the other thing that I want to keep an eye out for is a really good thing on the map is a cluster of water overlapping a cluster of silicon, because then you can build your electrolysis reactors directly next to the silicon reactors. You don't want to found on those because it doesn't get you going to get to the point in the game where you want to do that, but you want to see those sorts of things on the map because it's very efficient. So let me restart Offworld. Can't believe it crashed while I was doing that. Not sure what caused it, but anyway. So overall, if you're looking at what's going on the map in all the colony types, most steel is in high demand. Everybody uses aluminum. Some use glass. So you really want to focus on what the colony you are needs to get upgraded, because even if prices get suppressed, you can use those resources to upgrade if you have all of your bases covered. If you're making like life support early on, you're probably making a mistake, because one, instead of racking up debt, you're just consuming what you're producing, so you just stagnate since you can't sell anything because it's being consumed, and also you have to use the money to buy the steel and aluminum and possibly glass that you may generate, except those prices are being driven up early and mid-game by everybody using those resources. So that's why when I'm playing, I want to focus on those specific needs that I need to upgrade my colonies, and then in the mid-game I expand into the life support, the glass, and the special buildings depending on what else I see on the map. So now I'm going to go through the single player, and I'm going to start a game, and I'm going to explain which colony I would pick. Now I tend to pick like scientific because I think scientific is awesome and it fits my gameplay better, as you can do lots of little tricks and stuff. So okay, so starting off, what I see here is I see a bunch of iron. This would be a decent spot to start on a scavenger, which I'd found right here. Claim a little bit of each resource. You could get more, but I'd cover up the iron just because you could sell it early on quick. Now, I kept it, but I don't want to found yet, because I want to see what else. I want to see the proximity to everything. I want to make sure all the other needs are going to be close enough that my fuel costs don't expand. So I explored a little bit more and uncover a huge iron cluster. Now I haven't uncovered any aluminum yet, so I want to start expanding, see where start scanning around
A
and
geothermal
see
vent.
where there's
That
some.
will be
Okay, there's a
useful.
little bit of aluminum here.
Low levels
It's a
of
double
aluminum
tile,
found.
which is nice, except you can't mine both from the same building. Now, if it had been aluminum and iron, that would be better. That'd be a
Medium levels
great
of
tile.
aluminum
So,
found.
okay, so I uncovered some aluminum down here, which is very nice because it's quite close. There's a geothermal close too, so this is looking to be a good spot. But I'm gonna keep expanding because I want to found a little bit later than other people. The only thing is, it's a good spot, so there's a possibility that somebody else will find it. But since there's another good spot over here, you can there will probably end up being 2 colonies founding, one up here, one down here, unless somebody plops an expansive right down in the middle. So let me just keep exploring the map because that's only
Low
portion
levels
of it,
water
and I
found.
haven't found any water yet either. So,
Robotic
or
colony found
silicon.
it.
So there
Low
could be
levels
a
of silicon
significant
found.
resource shortage on this map. So kind of curious to see where it goes.
Scientific
Okay, so
colony
everybody's
founded.
found it. So at this point, I have no idea what he found it on. Scavenger found it down here. I had a scan, but it was really not a very good spot. And as soon as I see the scavenger found, I'm going to go check the good scavenger spot, make sure it wasn't covered. If not, I'm probably going to count on him building on this the high carbon, unless there was some spot way down here with a bunch of carbon. So, and then up here the robotic found it. So since everybody's founded, I would immediately do this and then claim
this colony isn't going to
claim the
build
two.
itself.
Come on, claim these 2 spots. So I would have my carbon needs, and then I would claim here, and then I would throw up the buildings that I need. And that's pretty much that. Now I'm gonna let the rest of the map explore to see where it is. I mean, I'm curious to see how much water we end up finding. Okay, so there's a ton of water up here, which the scientific dude found it on. Interesting enough, he's taking this one tile. I should have mentioned when I saw this tile that this is a really good spot for a scientific to build an electronics factory on, because it has 2 of the 3 resources that it needs. You also need a silicon. If you can find 2 or 3 of these sorts of tiles next to each other, you may just want to rush for electronics and take advantage of it. So, here's a really, I wish I had found this a little sooner. This is a really good spot, because what you can do, you don't want to found on this spot, but if you found near enough to it, you would claim, what you would want to do is you would want to claim 3 of these tiles. If you were, say, if you were robotic, you'd claim the aluminum because you get 2 low irons, and you would claim these, so you get the 3 mining, the 100% from the 3 adjacent bonuses. So you would pretty much cover your aluminum needs and your iron needs. The only issue would be you would probably get this tile would probably get nuked, reducing the effectiveness of it. But if you were robotic, I would say you would probably have wanted to found down here, and then you would just claim those 3 tiles and hope for the best. So anyway, that's the founding phase walkthrough. I've covered a fair bit of information on the basics of founding. Now, as you play more and more, you will get a better idea on what you want to be looking for in general. But the important thing to keep in mind is the specific needs to upgrade your colony. You want to upgrade as fast as possible, so you have more claims to do more stuff. You only start with 3 or 4 claims, for if you're expansive. On the expansive and found last, you might get 5 on the default handicap settings. So there's only so many tiles that are going to get claimed at level 1, but every additional level, the faster you get there, the more you can claim. So you want to focus on getting more claims as possible to do the most with. So thank you for watching this founding phase walkthrough. And as always, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm going to post this on Reddit and on the official forums. So thank you very much for watching. This has been Indecision doing the Offworld Trading founding phase walkthrough.